viewing time allotted for government broadcasts.
A little birdie told me that if you bought an extra item of canned food every time you go shopping, by the time we get into the thick of the hurricane season, you should have enough for your 7-day supply if a disaster strikes. Something to think about and act on. And while you're at it, think about this too.
What if you got caught in harm's way?
What would you do?
In Jamaica over the years, we have a culture where we are more reactive than proactive. When we get the youth involved in their schools, in their communities, through the various clubs, etc., this will enable us to have that culture change.
Grades 10, 11 and 12 students from across the island are being recruited and trained to help you during the next disaster.
We can do it! Each family needs to have a family disaster plan. They need to know what to do before, during and after any disaster.
During the hurricane, you need to stay inside and not go outside.
The flood is a secondary hazard in which may arise after a hurricane. If you cannot swim, you should not head into the water to try and save somebody. Your safety comes first.
Before an earthquake, you need to know the safety areas, evacuation areas. Now, during the earthquake, that's where the drills are carried out.
If you are in a building, the first thing you should do is duck, cover, and hold.
After the earthquake, you need to clean all spills. Each community members should know emergency numbers like for the police, the fire, hospitals, ambulance, etc.
What if I were the mother of 3 young children, living with my 80-year-old grandmother, and a hurricane was 3 hours away? What would you advise me to do?
At this time, you should make sure that everything is ready. You should be prepared. Make sure that your windows are battened down and your doors are closed.
You should make sure that the grandmother's medication are there and she's comfortable as possible. And you should keep updated about the hurricane.
A month into the 2010 hurricane season, Central Jamaican teams were being prepared in basic skills like first aid delivery, relief distribution, shelter preparation, damage assessment, and victim registration.
These are practical skills. These are skills that throughout this week they can gain easily, grasp easily, things that they'll be able to utilize in their communities, in schools, in homes if the need arises.
So I've decided to leave my home for the nearest shelter with my young children and grandmother. What would you suggest I take with me? Just the right size.
The person is taking medication, they bring the medication along with them, and three-day supply of food.
Take with you bed spread and take your important papers like your ID, passport, and your birth certificate.
For the children, you bring like toys, books, things that will interest them when they're at the shelter.
Why are young people being called upon to provide this critical service? Because they are able, they are available. And so 2 years ago, Prime Minister Bruce Golding told ODPEM to get them involved.
In every parish, there's only a certain amount of firemen or first aid responders or hospitals, etc. And if we should look on history and on natural and man-made hazards internationally, it is usually the persons who are closest. These are usually the first responders to get to these persons.
ODPEM reports that there are some 250 vulnerable communities across the island. These are communities close to waterways, communities on unstable hillsides, and communities on reclaimed land. This puts 250,000 people at risk during natural disasters. Now back to the story of my family's dilemma in the hurricane. Unfortunately, under the stress, my grandmother passes out and has trouble breathing. What kind of help would you be able to offer her?
First of all, you have to check if grandma is breathing. If she's not, you'd have to open her airway, which you have to tilt the head and lift the chin.
And
and then after you ensure that she's breathing. If she's not breathing, you do about 3 to 5 mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
We know we are extremely vulnerable to hurricanes, and this is the hazard that we focus on more on a year-to-year basis. But these young people are equipped to respond to almost any hazard, natural or man-made.
So we have a young, energetic group prepared to come to our assistance if a disaster strikes. And remember, this hurricane season promises to be an active one. And well, nothing beats preparation.
This has been a production